Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland. And I have a special guest on this week, my friend JoJo. And we've known each other for almost 5 years since we worked together at the Academic Success Center. And I'm going to let JoJo introduce herself a little bit and do some shameless plugs for some of the things that she's involved in that are not movie related.
Not movie related. Thanks, Shane. I'm JoJo. A little bit about me. I am a personal trainer over at Optimal Gym.
There you go.
Located in Newtown, Pennsylvania, but I do e-coaching as well. So if you're interested in nutrition coaching, personal training, anything of the sort, feel free to hit me up on Instagram at Johanna Blume. Simple as that.
Awesome. And if you are in the need of getting your ass in shape, like I am after all this COVID stuff, contact JoJo. It hasn't been like I was just reflecting on this because I'm starting to see a lot of like 1 year memories. I'm like, my God, this was almost when things all went to hell. And I'm like, I haven't been to a gym since like early March. And I miss lifting. I am definitely not as toned as I was a year ago. And it's sad to think that this is a year ago.
Crazy.
We do what we can. But you know what? Do fun new things and new opportunities. Like I probably wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for being stuck on the computer. I'm like, how can I connect with people online? So doing fun stuff like this. So we're going to chat about some movies. So just to get things started. So JoJo, what is your favorite movie?
So it took a while to like narrow it down between the three that there were, but I actually think it's Inception. I think that is my favorite movie.
Awesome. I am also a big fan of Christopher Nolan, so I could appreciate that. Inception was like a big thing when that came out back in 2010. It's over 10 years old now.
Ooh.
JoJo didn't like that. And the more I think about it, I didn't like that either. If you're thinking about, but Inception has so many different things going for it. And like the acting, the action is inventive. And you're like, they literally spun a giant hallway around and filmed in it because Christopher Nolan can.
Absolutely.
What do you love about Inception?
Well, that was definitely when I fell in love with Tom Hardy. So there's that, right? I guess.
Makes sense.
So 2010, a sophomore in high school, like, oh, so dreamy. But there's just so many emotions tied to it. Like, of course, at that time, there was so much mystery with the end of the movie. And which going into it, I don't think I really thought about it. I was just going to go see a movie with my friends. But of course, I liked the action and adventure. And then, of course, there's like, you're sad because of his family. And overall, the cast, like, obviously, that's several members of the Batman trilogy that we see and follow. And I just like their vibe. Like, they connect so well. And I think it carries through each of the trilogy movies, but also in Inception.
It's very interesting because like, it's funny that you brought up Tom Hardy because like, that's the most clean cut, like dashing Tom Hardy I've ever seen. Because like Eames is just like, you have to think bigger, darling, and like takes out the rocket launcher and just shoots it. And then like half the movies he's been in since you can't even see his face. So it's an interesting change, but it's very true. Christopher Nolan uses a lot of the same actors. Got to have Michael Caine in it. Doesn't matter how big the role is. It's got to be in it. Now, what is your earliest memory of going to the movies?
So I actually had to like look up the dates because I have 3 memories that I knew they were older, but I couldn't place them in a timeline. So I guess technically it's of seeing Jack Frost. Yeah, which I actually watched again for the very first time this year. And I couldn't make it through the movie. I was bored. I was like kind of frustrated.
I'm pretty sure I had that on VHS at some point when I was a kid. Because like the Michael Keaton movie where he turns into a snowman. Yeah. I remember seeing that as a kid.
Yeah, I remember it so well because I remember the movie theater was packed. At this time, I lived on Long Island, so we went to a mall in Nassau County, which was
Mhm.
like the mall. There wasn't one that was closer. So all of the theaters there, I just remember them being just so ginormous, right? And I remember so packed, you had to like walk to the middle of the aisle, and we were supposed to be meeting like the rest of my family. I don't know what happened. They like never showed up. But when we were leaving the food court, which was also packed, they were sitting there. And I guess they couldn't get tickets because of how popular, early 2000, or I guess no, 90s, right?
Mhm.
The movies and the mall was the place to be. So I remember being very confused as to, one, where was my family? And two, like being so sad in the beginning of the movie, right? Because
Mhm.
I mean, I
The
guess it's the history.
spoiler to Jack Frost from the 90s, like Michael Keaton dies and then comes back as a snowman.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with another Jack Frost that had like a killer snowman in it that came out kind of around the same time.
Yeah.
You imagine families probably were confused making sure that they went to the right Jack Frost movie.
That's terrible.
Not as bad as when some theaters accidentally showed Sausage Party trailers before like Disney movies.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
wasn't well vetted at
No, it
all.
was not. It's like, oh, it's animated. Let's put it in front of the kids' movies. No, not for kids.
That's how you get sued.
Yes. And there's definitely some moms in that audience that probably sued that theater. And it's funny because Sausage Party has a special place in my heart because it was my first ever review that I did on my channel.
Oh, that's funny. Solid.
It was a very interesting review to start all this off. And look, 4.5 years later, still going. But now, Jojo, do you have a particular favorite genre of movies?
I think it's action adventure.
Okay.
I I I don't know. All the movies I seem like drawn to or attracted to always have to be like moving pretty fast and have action, I guess, to keep me entertained.
That's
I've never
fair.
been one for like rom-coms, and yeah, I don't know. I struggle really hard to stay like interested.
Not a great time, too. It's Valentine's Day. Everybody wants to talk about romantic comedies. No, I just want some action.
Yeah, kill them,
I was
shoot
not a fan. We don't want rom-coms around here. But I could definitely relate. And if anybody's actually seen reviews of mine for action movies, I'm an action movie snob. Like that action better be great. It's 2021. So
There's standards now.
yeah, I will take Mad Max, thank you. And also Thor Ragnarok. Love me my Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Gotta be fun, crazy. Like I felt like I ran for 2 hours watching Mad Max Fury Road when I left the theater. My heart was like that much after.
That was a really good movie. Actually, going into it, my brother like convinced me to watch it because he's a fan of the original. So going into it, I didn't trust him, although I like Charlize Theron. So I was like, cool, like I could watch her. That's cool. But I actually liked it, so I was pretty shocked. But again, action adventure. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, great.
I'm going to steal one of my friend Matt's stories because I remember him telling me he took a girlfriend at the time and she just turned to him and was like, Matt, what did you take me to? Because they're weird movies. Let's be frank, they're weird, but they're amazing. So you should watch them. And I'm going to leave it at that. And if anybody didn't pick up on the fact that literally everything on my YouTube channel is named after Mad Max, surprise. Now, do you have a particular favorite filmmaker?
Christopher Nolan, or at least I can say
Mhm.
he's the name that I'm most aware of.
Mhm.
And anytime like a movie comes out and I'm aware that I'm drawn to it. So there might be someone else that like indirectly I'm like, oh, I actually have been following his films. But anytime Christopher Nolan is a part of something, I'm like, yeah, so that's gonna be good and we're gonna watch that.
Oh, Tenant.
Except for
Triggered.
I just had this conversation today, so I don't even know if I have the bandwidth to discuss it, but unfortunately, my heart was not taken with Tenet.
It was cool. Didn't really care at all, honestly, about anybody. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
um, is the world gonna blow up? I don't know. I don't care. But it's cool watching this. It's like, let's watch people fight backwards. And I wanted to love it. And it was supposed to be like the movie that saved the movie industry after all this, and it didn't. But you know what? I'm still going to be lined up to see Christopher Nolan's next movie when it comes out.
sure,
So,
absolutely.
it hasn't soiled that for me.
Yeah.
Now, do you have particular favorite actor or actresses?
I rotate the same like two back and forth. So
Mhm.
I actually like wrote notes. So it's definitely Jason Bateman. Like I think I've settled it with Paul Rudd pretty close. I love those two. I don't know why. They're like dads,
Mhm.
but like, I don't know. I love Jason Bateman's snarkiness in Ozark in most things that he does. Um, but then I like how adorable Paul Rudd is and how versatile he is. But I don't know. I think he's absolutely charming. And then on the other spectrum of that, I'm actually not going to list Tom Hardy. I think he's just cute. But Cillian Murphy is like that. I
Thomas
don't
Shelby.
quite know if you're normal or not, but there's enough mystery and like something there that I think he's appealing to. So I think those are my top three, but Jason Bateman is definitely my number one.
So I definitely have some thoughts there. So first off, Jason Bateman, I remember when I first started watching Arrested Development, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm Michael Bluth. Like, this is how I feel with my family. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm Michael Bluth here. And Jason Bateman's so great. I was just rewatching Game Night. Him and
Okay.
Rachel McAdams
Yeah.
are so
Yeah. That
great.
was
And like
actually really like I feel like under, you know, what's the word that I'm thinking of?
underappreciated.
Yeah, underappreciated, underacknowledged movie.
Like, I remember seeing that and just being like, this movie was great.
I thought it
I
was
did not
hilarious.
expect this.
Hmm.
Because like it's funny, but like it has really strong action in it. I'm like, I did
Hmm.
not expect this out of this movie. And him and
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams are great. But
Yeah.
like everything he does, he's just so perfect. Whether it's like Ozark is like a whole other side of it. And like he's a really talented director too. And even something stupid like Dodgeball, where like really early on he's one of the announcers, like, it's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how that pays off. And it's so
Yeah.
weird seeing
Yeah.
him in that. And like, come on. Paul Rudd, one, doesn't age. Two, is like the most charming person ever.
So charming.
You could just throw him in anything. Like, I Love You Man so much. Like every time I watch that movie, I'm like, I want to be friends with them. Like I want to go to a Rush concert with them. Like I want to slap at the bass with them. And like Ant-Man, like
Right.
Ant-Man is just amazing and just everything. And it's funny because I know we very briefly talked about this at some point, but I, having just watched all of Friends over the course of like 2 months,
Love Friends.
like I really liked Phoebe and Hank Azaria's character together. But like I understand why fans were just like, no, we want Paul Rudd.
Yeah,
And
we
it's just
do.
like it's Paul Rudd. It's like the second he pops up, I'm like,
Right. Just immediately like attracted to him. Just we're in the middle of watching, oh my goodness. It's on Netflix. A movie with him. Is it My Stupid Brother?
My
Or
idiot
our
brother.
Yeah. So we just started that and we're like literally like 5 minutes in and
Uh-huh.
already I love it. But we also watched another one where he plays, I guess he's like a producer, like a gay producer with his partner who is a chef, and it's of his like cooking show, and they find out that he has a grandson that has been sent to him. It is hilarious. Like, it's one of those movies at first I was like, oh, I don't know how it's gonna go. I didn't really know what to expect. I ended up loving it. I was like, who would have thought this gem on like Netflix or Prime, I don't even know which one it was on,
You could
would
throw
be so good.
Paul Rudd into anything, and you're just like, this is wonderful, and I
It
love
was
it.
amazing. It was
And
amazing.
then Cillian Murphy, like he's popped up in so many like supporting roles, and like he was the lead in like some Danny Boyle films like 28 Days Later and stuff like that. The second I watched Peaky Blinders, I'm just like, next level respect. Thomas
Yeah,
Shelby.
I love that show. So unfortunately, I have stopped following it. I think I made it 2 seasons in,
Okay.
I believe, just because it became pretty monotonous to me. Like, it became kind of like the same idea. Like, there's a
I can
thing,
see that.
they're gonna do the thing, they're gonna yell at each other a lot, people are gonna die. I mean, again, Tom Hardy was in it, so
Like
I mean, it was, and I didn't even know when I first started watching it. And then suddenly he popped up, and I was like, what a nice surprise.
Alfie Solomon's. I remember when they introduce him and it's just like a camera behind him and you just see these like hulking shoulders. I'm like,
Love
that's definitely Tom Hardy. And Alfie Solomon's is my favorite character in that show. He is such a smarmy bastard, that guy.
it.
But like Thomas Shelby's great and Cillian Murphy's so great in that show. They have one more season and they're gonna make a movie and then it's all over.
All right,
Yeah.
so maybe I'll have to catch up
It's all on Netflix.
for that movie. Oh, yeah, I know. I have to just find where I left off.
Mhm.
Um,
It, it's one of those kinds of shows that it's like it's easy to remember what season it is because of the villain in it. Because like they had some very interesting villains. Also, fun Italian mobsters. None of them played by Italian actors.
oh,
They have
really?
Adrian Brody as the villain in the fourth season, and he's basically just doing a Marlon Brando impression from The Godfather. I'm like,
Side eye.
okay, but the fifth season had like a fascist as the it has like the rise of fascism and stuff like that, and I'm just like, oh, this is going some places, and I'm like, it was the first season that ended like, holy crap, this season ended this way. I'm just like,
Oh,
and then there's only one season left, so all of
so
you
then
people who
maybe
haven't
I'm
watched
on
Peaky
season
Blinders,
3.
hmm?
Now I'm on, I think then I'm probably on season 3 because
Yeah,
I feel like I
because
watched a lot of it.
I feel like season three was the one that I remember the least. I do remember that like the villain of it's like this really disgusting priest played by Patty Considine.
Okay, so then yeah.
Yeah. And see, I remember based off of who the villain was in the season.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
I do really like that show. So and you can't hear where the peaky effing blinders a more like they just have to say it like every single episode. So
Right,
it's
right.
important. Now, Jojo, is there a movie that you feel like you could watch every day?
Mm, yeah. So I actually think we hinted at it. So I would say either Dark Knight Rises
Okay.
or any of the Avenger movies
Okay.
because of how easy to watch it is, but
Mhm.
also like, there's going to be like you're going to get a small chuckle here and there from the straightforward jokes. There's going to be fighting, there's going to be like some kind of emotion, like some kind of loss or like despair.
Endgame's gonna make a bunch of grown men cry.
There you go. Yeah. So I
Like
think, okay, I can't watch that one. Ragnarok on repeat, which I have already watched, like,
you could definitely watch that one on repeat. It's like, oh, hey
absolutely.
man, we're going on this spaceship. You want to come with us?
It's a great movie.
Oh,
It really
Korg.
is.
Korg's
It really is.
greatest.
Yeah. So any of the easier to watch ones, not, not so much the more serious ones. That took a little
Yeah.
bit more of a toll.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of films, like there's certain films that I love, but they're super serious and dark. I'm like, can I handle this every day of my life? Probably not. But like something like the Marvel movies are just so much fun. Of most of them, it's just so it's it's a blast,
Mhm.
and you get to hear this fun little story. So I love Thor Ragnarok so much, if you couldn't tell by the fact that like I have stuff hanging on my wall for it. And also, JoJo's boyfriend Vinny got me a nice big Ragnarok poster as well. So, and I still have that. It's over in my closet. But so I have my brother Ethan, who came on to the show. He was like the second episode on Lost in the Wasteland. And then I have my other brother John. We saw that movie together. And I told them, if I die before then, I'm going to show up as a ghost. And if they don't come over and try to kick me and say, piss off, ghost, I will maliciously haunt them for the rest of their lives.
Solid. As a brother should.
Because that is exactly how obsessed with movies I am, that I would literally plan the afterlife based off of them.
That's fine.
So there you go. But that scene got me, like when I was in the theater, that got me so bad. Like him just coming out of nowhere, it's like, piss off, ghost, and just like tries to kick Loki. Oh my God. I was not ready for that. Like that movie, I'm just like, were there moments that it probably could have afforded to take itself a little bit more seriously? Maybe. But you know what? I laughed whole entire movie. Goldblum.
Yeah.
Hemsworth.
He was such a gem in that. Really, honestly, who could have done it better?
You gave me this is the melty stick. I didn't ask for the melty stick. And like, like Taika Waititi is just like, Jeff, be yourself. And exactly what he did. Because like, if Jeff Goldblum was the hedonistic ruler of a planet, he'd be the Grandmaster. That would literally be him. So It works. Now, Jojo, do you have a particular film that you feel like you have a stronger connection to because it relates to an interest of yours?
Yeah, so this question was actually like, I really had to think about it, but
this is also why this is my favorite question.
Because I was like, oh, like what movie has to deal with like lifting? But I think taking a step back, Moana, because she's just awesome, but more so because of what was going on in my life at that time, and then how it helped transition me and my character to where I am now. So even though like, no, I'm like, not the daughter of a chief or anything.
Let's be real here, Jojo. You could rule an island nation and it would totally work. And I don't think anybody would fight that.
Perfect. But I think at that time, it was just the idea of like going out on a limb and being courageous and like defying what others say and following your heart, even if you like don't have a plan, which is like definitely against my nature. I like plans, but sometimes you can't always have one. And actually at the time I was on the brink of losing my grandmother. So needless to say, when I watch it, automatic tears instantly, but it's like such a rewarding movie and love it to death.
Rachel House is the grandma in that. So great. So I also love that movie a lot, and for a while there my ringtone on my cell phone was Shiny, because so fun fact, I was sitting in the theater watching that movie, and when Tumatoa, the giant crab, starts talking in this Kiwi accent, I'm like, is that Jermaine Clement? And he starts singing, I'm like, oh my God, it is. And the reason I bring that up is because people tell me I look like him.
Oh, okay.
And it's because and I have dark hair and dark features. And I'm like, I guess that means we both have mutton chops, so I look like Jermaine Clement, which I love Flight of the Conchords. And I love What We Do in the Shadows. So I'm not going to argue with it. It's fun. But like Shiny, I love that song so much. It's so Bowie. Like, that was like inspired by David Bowie. And it's just so much fun. And then The Rock. Like Dwayne Johnson was just perfect in that movie. Yeah. You're welcome.
I love the videos on Instagram of him like trying to sing it to his daughter. And she's like No, let the movie sing it. Like, I don't want you, even though it is you. I want this version of you.
I want Maui to sing it. I don't want Dad to sing it.
Right.
Moana was great. So much fun. It's a
Yeah,
lovely little
definitely.
film. And now, you know what's funny? I was I was waiting to see if potentially, because I know you're into like fitness and bodybuilding and stuff like that, if you're gonna bring up Arnold. And I knew you weren't actually gonna bring that up, but in like a funny alternate reality, you would have brought up his documentary about lifting and stuff like that. Which,
Yeah,
oh Arnold. Apparently he's extremely supportive on Reddit to people trying to do bodybuilding and stuff like that. Like he'll
that's
comment on their things and give
that's
them
awesome.
inspirational things. But honestly, when I think of bodybuilding, it's probably Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Everyone, you know, yeah, he's done so much for the sport, obviously, right? He is the face of it, but it's definitely one of those things. So I'm someone, if I'm passionate about something, I have a hard time watching things about it. I don't know, it starts to hit home a lot. Um, I try to watch like a few of the series on Netflix about like clean eating or like not eating meat and stuff. And it's very hard for me to like sit through things like that. So I've been trying to listen more to podcasts
That's
that are based on my interests, like smaller snippets at a time. I can handle it. But yeah, so I can't watch a documentary on bodybuilding.
that's fair. So I know a lot of people who listen to podcasts. Like my girlfriend Jess listens to podcasts all the time, like weird history ones, like scary story ones, and like all that kind of stuff. I have one podcast. Well, I listened to our Sif Pop one because like I kind of have to, because it's like I'm involved in stuff like that. But I listened to a podcast called The Cinephiles, and it's like with Steve Morris and John Roca, and they talk about a movie every week. And I'm
Nice.
just like, I was listening to it today. I was cleaning off my car in the snow, went to go get gas, and was listening to them talk about Beauty and the Beast.
Awesome.
And you know what's funny? How this side, like this strange side thought I had comes full circle because they were talking about Gaston, and the animator was trying to figure out how they were gonna like, who was Gaston gonna be? And apparently he got the idea from going to the gym in LA and seeing all the guys just like looking at themselves in the mirror and stuff like that. I'm like, because Steve Moore's the host is just like, I've never met an Ursula, I've never met a Scar, but I have met a Gaston before. And it's like, I think we all know people that are that way. And it's just like, yep, that's right. That makes total sense. And they're roughly the size of a barge. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Gaston. Now, I think you kind of hit on this a little bit, but I'm interested to see if you have something a different answer. But is there a particular movie character that you feel like you have a personal connection to?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna say Moana.
I was figuring that, and I wanted you to actually say it instead of
Yeah.
me speaking for you, but
Yeah. Yeah. She's my fave. I just think she's so kick ass. Like she's like, oh yeah, Dad, you don't want me to take the boats out? Are you sure about that? I found some hidden boats. I'm just gonna take those instead.
Dad, if you won't let me take your car, I'm gonna go take this one that you didn't tell me about, and then go across the ocean.
Exactly. Solid.
Hey, Moana is an inspiration, and that was a great year for like Zootopia came out that year, Moana came out that year, Kubo and the Two String came out that year. It was a great year for animation. And honestly, Moana is one of those movies I could just watch that over and over and over again.
I
I'm a
wish I could.
I'm a watch it every day.
Cry every day. Feel really inspired. Go outside, probably yell some random words like, inspiration, and then go to my job.
So basically, after this is done and Vinny's done working, you're gonna watch Moana, right?
Basically.
Basically. Now, what film do you Do you have a film that you love that you think would surprise people to find out that you love?
I think so. So I like I like the Raid Redemption, which is just an absolute like just like an hour and a half, 2 hours of fighting and
Mhm.
people's necks breaking and bones breaking and stuff. But it is so entertaining, and the fitness level of like, so I actually just watched another movie. I think it was on Prime with the guy that plays the main character. I'm bad with names, so I
That
don't know who it
okay.
is. But his fitness level and technique is just, it's beautiful. And like, he's an actor. When you look at him, you're like, oh, okay, like he might be able to do some fighting.
That movie's a banger. Like from start to finish, that movie
I
is
love that movie.
insane. I'm pretty sure he was just in a film called Jujitsu, also starring Nick Cage. And Nick Cage was like this warrior master. Yeah,
Okay.
this movie's weird. It's like it's a weird movie, but like there's some really cool action in it, and the actor from The Raid's in it. I remember all the actors from The Raid were going to be in Force Awakens, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" Of course, everyone's like, "Oh my god, they're the Knights of Ren," and then they turned out to be just this group of bandits, and then they all got eaten by that giant like squid thing in
Uh,
Han Solo's ship, and I'm just like,
oh.
"Oh." I think everybody collectively were disappointed by that.
But the one, again, don't know his name. The one guy that also in the Raid Redemption, they save, I think almost until the end for him to fight, is the same guy that John Wick fights at the end. So when I saw him come up on screen, I was like, oh, this is going to be an awesome fight. Kill John Wick. Kill him.
I love me some John Wick, all three John Wicks.
Yeah.
I remember going to see Parabellum in theaters with like, it was interesting because I had shown John Wick and John Wick Chapter 2 to my friend Dave, my friend Mike, and my friend Ryan. And that was the first time I ever went to the movies with the three of them together. We all went to go see John Wick Parabellum. And by the time I got home, I got a text message that they had already greenlit John Wick Chapter 4. And I'm just like, bring it.
There's another one.
Yes.
Okay. Because we're on John Wick 3, right? That's the one
Yes.
that just came out.
John Wick
I think
4.
that's the one that he's in at the end.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember that fight you're talking about. Because like
Yeah.
you have John Wick 4 coming and the fourth Matrix coming. So like we're gonna get all the Keanu Reeves.
Didn't he just have a month where like both of his movies came out? Like John Wick came out and
Well, 2019 was a big year for Keanu Reeves because he had that movie Always Call Me crap, what is it? On Netflix. It was like a romantic comedy. Always Be My Maybe.
okay.
And like he winds up going on the date with the main girl, and you're waiting to see who's her date. And then Sail from AWOL Nation starts playing, and he walks into the restaurant in slow motion, and you're just like, and it's Keanu Reeves playing himself. So like she's on a date with Keanu Reeves, and he's so weird. And it's hilarious. And then Toy Story 4, because like Duke Kaboom. Oh yeah, yeah. And I'm just like, and then John Wick came out too. I'm just like, Keanu Reeves is killing it. And then the new Bill and Ted came out in
Yeah,
2020,
right.
which there's one line in that movie that he just delivers that got me. I laughed so hard sitting at home watching the screener for that. Cause it's like, I've been waiting. It's like, I think it was Kristen Shaw's character. It's like, I've been waiting so long to meet you. And he's like, well, you must be disappointed. Because like, they're like these middle-aged guys who are still in a band together and have never made a hit song. So like
Solid.
they're having this midlife crisis, and he's just like, "Well, you must be disappointed," like meeting them, and he just knows it. And just the way he did it in that Keanu Reeves way was so great. There's also rumors going around that he might be in the the Hunter Spider-Man movie coming out soon, and I'm like, "Oh my
All right.
god, if they got Keanu Reeves to be Craven the Hunter and he's
Mhm.
going to fight Spider-Man,
We'll
You have
enjoy
my
it.
money already. If you didn't already have my money, you definitely have it now. They probably did already, but I'm just
I
going
was gonna say, spoiler alert, they already had your money.
They already had my money. But I remember I hadn't seen the Raid Redemption and then the Raid 2 until like probably 2019.
Okay.
And like I'm watching them like, holy crap,
Nice.
why have I not seen these movies before?
So cool. So
So
cool.
cool. Show
Yeah.
the Raid some love. If you haven't seen the Raid, check them out.
Absolutely.
Now, Jojo, I have my last question for you. What do you love most about movies?
That's like, I don't know. There's a lot of elements there. I think even though I like action adventure movies, I like how you can watch something and feel really, really inspired. Like just truly uplifted and be like, wow, like, and I think inspiration is something that's pretty hard to like get out of people because sometimes people suffer with motivation. So if watching something, right, even if it's like about fictional characters or someone's life that you really might not even be able to relate with, but they can get that out of you, I think it's been a pretty impactful movie. So, you know, things that can do that, it's almost like magical in my eyes. So I think that's what I like the most about movies, when they're able to solicit an emotion that sometimes people can't even really get out of themselves.
That's really cool. I really appreciated that answer. And it also makes a lot of sense, seeing as like you do personal training and motivations. We've had plenty of conversations about motivation in many different ways, including motivating students. And sometimes it's like if a film can do that and spark that motivation and just inspire you and like throw up your fist and like, I'm gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
Go watch Rocky. Rocky will inspire anybody.
Right.
We
Yeah.
all are going to run up the art museum steps, some of us better than others. I think if I tried to do that right now, would not make it to the top without having to stop. Not in the.
Same here.
I don't
We're
like
in bulking season. This girl does not do cardio right now.
The funny thing is I do cardio. I just don't handle steps well. If I have to go up something, I'm like right now I'm a strong 256.
Okay.
Like it's a lot moving up those steps. Don't know how well that's going to go, but we try. We do our best.
That's what matters.
I'm trying to do my best in all of this, and you know, we try our best. We're going to leave it at that. Now, Jojo, at the end of the show, I let my guests ask the Wasteland Reviewer question. So, what question would you like to ask me?
Okay. So my question to you is, have you ever been in the middle of a movie or just beginning it and been so turned off that you couldn't sit through it?
So I try to finish movies because I review them, and I feel it's really unfair to actually like stop a movie and review it and not watch the whole thing. But my friend Matt and my friend Mike at the time wanted to show me The Room from start to finish. It's fun and all to watch the clips and laugh at it. But trying to actually sit through that 2-hour movie that is absolutely atrocious, I let myself fall asleep. I just checked out. I'm just like, I can't. I woke up just in time to watch him shoot himself and then convulse after he shot himself in the head already, because you know you can do things after you shoot yourself in the head. Spoiler alert to The Room. Don't watch it. But one other movie. So this was peak. M. Night Shyamalan is terrible. Because growing up, I love Signs. I have a great appreciation for like The Sixth Sense. After Earth with Jaden Smith and Will Smith. Movie's an hour and a half. I fell asleep seven separate times.
Oh, wow.
The only reason I didn't fall asleep and stay asleep is because Jess kept waking me up. Jess, like, thought that she would have a Long Island iced tea at Uno's beforehand. So Jess was drunk. She doesn't drink a lot. There's a lot of alcohol in a Long Island iced tea. And as somebody who's never actually drank alcohol before, I even know that. There's a lot of alcohol. So she was straight drunk. And she kept trying to wake me up and point out stuff in the movie. I'm like, no, just leave me be. Let me go to sleep. Because it was boring as hell. Jaden Smith was horrible. And Will Smith's character had no emotions.
Oh.
So, why do you cast one of the most charismatic actors in Hollywood and tell him your character has no charisma or personality? And it would have been like casting Will Smith as the main character in Tenet and just being like, you're a blank slate. No. And that movie can't. Nope. I'll never watch After Earth again. I just can't. But there's definitely been some movies since I've been reviewing everything that I just sat there. I'm like, I want to turn this off. I really do. But I didn't.
Okay.
But yeah, I did allow myself to fall asleep during a couple of movies like The Room and After Earth because they didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve my attention at that point. I was so done. But that's a fun question because, like, I've never walked out of a theater on a movie. There's been some times where I felt like I wanted to because I'm just like, I can't. The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, that was definitely one of them. I really wanted to walk out of that. I'm just like, this is so bad. I hate this. I hate this movie, but I did not.
Good.
Such restraint.
I don't know if that's good or not, but I mean, so I'm the opposite. If I'm not like immediately entertained or interested, there's a whole list of things that I've started on Netflix and Prime that's like to be continued. It's like, no, this will never be continued.
Netflix, stop reminding me. Just
right. Actually, just delete this. Yeah.
Delete it from Netflix. Like JoJo didn't like it. Nobody else will. Just delete it.
No one will ever watch this.
But I appreciated the question. That's a fun one because, like, I feel like everybody at some point has felt like I want to walk out of a movie because, like, there's some time. Oh, Cats. That was also another one. I'm just like, what am I watching? And I was sitting there with my mom watching that, and we're both like, what is this? And there was also one other movie, and this wasn't because it was a bad movie. I actually loved this movie, but my mom, I was single at the time, so I was going to see a lot of movies by myself. And my mom's like, you're going to the movies by yourself? And like, I drove all the way down, like I drove 45 minutes down to where I'm from to go see this movie because it was playing at a theater near where I'm from in Voorhees. And it was The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh, that's on like one of the streaming ones now. It has Nicole Kidman, right?
Yes, and Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
So don't watch that with your parents. Just don't. Because there's a moment where Nicole Kidman's character is trying to fulfill a quid pro quo and is lending her husband's colleague a hand. And I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm sitting there next to my mother thinking, I don't want to be here right now. I'm loving this movie, but I don't want to be here right now. Why is my mom here? Why? I warned her. Why'd she come to this movie with me? And so Killing of the Sacred Deer is a movie not to watch with your mother.
Okay. But it is a good movie.
So it's from director Yorgos Lanthimos. He has a very particular sensibility. And I click with it really, really well. It's a dark, sinister movie. So, like, it's going to mess you up sitting and watching it.
Okay.
But it goes to some places.
Okay. So maybe I'll wait on that one.
Wait on that one.
I've definitely like kept reading the description because it sounded interesting and the name, like the title sounds interesting, but
it's kind of messed up once you find out what it means by killing of a sacred deer.
Okay. Wait.
No. It's a dark movie. Most of his movies are dark. If you had to pick any of them that's like the closest to like a mainstream entry point, I would suggest The Favorite.
Okay.
Because like the weirdest thing about it is like a bunch of rich people in like the 1700s being raunchy and just heathenistic. So like It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like darkly demented. Like Killing of a Sacred Deer is a bit darkly demented at times, and it's just like, oh my. And then you have The Lobster, which is such a weird movie, but it's so great. You have to have like a really dry, dark sense of humor to appreciate his movies, I feel like.
Okay.
Which I do appreciate a dry sense of humor, so I enjoy them a lot.
I feel like, oddly enough, I think my supervisor this week just asked me if I ever seen The Lobster, and I thought he was joking.
So the premise of the movie is it's I guess technically science fiction. So like if you don't have a human mate by like a certain age, they transfer your soul, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, into a different animal. So like there's these places that you go, and if you don't find a mate in like 40 days, then by the end of the 40 days they turn you into another animal, so you have a chance to find a mate in that form. And Colin Farrell wants to turn into a lobster if he doesn't find a mate after these 40 days. So that's why it's called The Lobster.
Okay.
It has
Because
Colin
lobsters stick
Farrell.
with their mates, right?
Huh?
As we learned from Friends.
But yeah, so there like there's parts of his movies that lose me a bit, but like they're ambitious movies and they're dark and crazy and oddly hilarious at times, but they have a weird sense of humor about them. Let's just put it that way. But if I haven't sold Yorgos Lanthimos movies on all of you watching, go check them out. Like I feel like he's one of those filmmakers that it's like if you love film, you're going to find a lot in those movies. He is not a mainstream like movie director. And I feel like if he tried to do one, he'd kind of lose his charm and what makes his films. But definitely The Favorite's probably the easiest to accept access. It has Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz, and Emma Stone in it.
Okay.
And they have a strange kind of like warring fascination with each other. It's a crazy, crazy movie, crazy movies. But I digress. But Jojo, it was a lot of fun to have you on the show. And I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate all of you tuning in. And yes, I'm going to give Jojo one last time to shamelessly plug whatever she'd like to shamelessly plug before we wrap up.
Well, if you're interested in shedding any of that COVID weight that you might have put on, or you just want to get active in 2021, right? A fresh start. I'm a personal trainer. I do e-coaching. You can find me on Instagram at Johanna N. Blume.
Awesome. Jojo, it's great seeing you. And
Thank you
thank
for
all of
having
you
me.
for tuning in and always supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.